Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. It is one of the most important things, skills, I'm going to call it a skill that you can master to move your life forward, because stuff is going to come up.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. We are social creatures. We crave connection. We're in relationships, all different types. And with that, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be things that you're going to have to deal with. How do you navigate conflict more easily? She is a amazing therapist and also has some great books that she's written, and we're going to get with that as well. She's back with us. Audrey Palmer joins us on the program. How you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Wonderful to have you back here. I'm super excited to learn little tips here on how to get through, a challenging situation. And a lot of the stuff that we deal with, this phrase comes up. Well, I guess we're going to agree to disagree. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm going to throw it right to you. Where do we begin in navigating a conflict?
Well, sometimes that's a good one. Sometimes we just have to take a deep breath and take our own corners and figure it all out. But there are some tips that we can use, and conflict actually can bring us closer together, because sometimes people are kind of talking at cross purposes, talking over each other, and not quite zeroing in on what they need to say. There is a Jamaican phrase. It says, teeth and tongue must meet. And what that means is every once in a while, and I'm sure you've done it, I've done it, where you're chewing and not thinking and you bite down on your tongue. That is so painful. And at no point do you ever say, well, you know what? That's never going to happen again. I'm going to cut out my tongue, or I'm going to take out all of my teeth so I will never bite myself again. No, you kind of get jarred a little, and you chew gingerly until you forget and you move forward. And so that's the whole idea. As we live in community, as we function, as we love, as we disagree, we will get into conflict. But then how do we resolve it? I have 3 R's. You can't see my finger, but I'm putting up 3 fingers. 3 R's of conflict. There's the rupture. There's the need for repair, and then resolution, if that's possible. We all go through the rupture, but not everyone goes to reparative work. They then, are quiet for a while and then go back to resolution, getting back into relationship. And then what happens, another conflict will come up. And because the repair hadn't been done, it goes right back to the old pain. And so it's compounded pain. Instead of compounded interest, it's then compounded pain until it gets to the point where people are like, I can't do this. I can't do it. It's always like this. And when you hear the phrase always, the resolution has happened without the reparative work. And so it's very important to, 1, recognize it, 2, know that something has to be done about it, and 3, get back to normal functioning. And one of the most important things we can do for our families, for our children, is to teach them how to do the reparative work. And sometimes it's the parent going and saying, you know what, kiddo, I was wrong. I'm sorry. You did not take that cookie. It was someone else. And I apologize. It's such a simple thing. But what that does is the child starts to then incorporate that into their thinking, that it's okay to say, I'm sorry, and recognize that things can be repaired.
I'm going to maybe pivot for a moment here, because I think it's part of the repair, and I definitely want to get back to that in a second. Saying you're sorry.
Yes.
What are some of the proper ways to say you're sorry? I know this may sound a little sophomoric, a little elementary. However, many of us will throw the I'm sorry. I'm sorry you feel that way. Well, you're kind of minimizing your feelings of sorry. Any suggestions along the way there?
So my personal belief is you have to recognize that the person's been hurt, and it's not just their own feelings. So let's stay with the cookie, and it's simple, but it's understandable. Let's say that you accuse your son or daughter of taking a cookie when it was just before dinner. They said, Mom, I didn't. I can see that your hands are dirty. You took the cookie, blah, blah, blah. Turns out the kid took the cookie to give it to someone else. it isn't their feeling that you're apologizing for. It's the accusation that you, one, the trust, the accusation, and that's what you're apologizing for the hurt that you've caused, the damage that you've caused. So when someone says, I feel bad that you feel that way, it almost feels like you're cheating them because you haven't recognized your part. And we're apologizing not for their feelings,
Right.
but for the part you played in hurting or causing harm. And so unless it is a situation where the two of you just can't see eye to eye, you can say, yeah, I am sorry that you feel that way. That wasn't my intention. This was my intention. I didn't mean to hurt you in any way. So yeah, is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, it's a delicate balance.
Yes.
But if you're going to say you're sorry, it should feel heartfelt. Like you
Yes.
truly mean it. And it could be, let's say we had a miscommunication.
Mm-hmm.
And, it takes two. I'm sorry we had a miscommunication. Doesn't mean that I'm taking the brunt of it all on. Again, it takes two. Somebody else was involved, but at least you're taking responsibility. Maybe, I don't know, Audrey, should it be 4 R's? Should responsibility be there? Does that come under one of the
I could add that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But you know what? There is I've been doing this for a long time. It's a rule from me. When I'm talking to someone and they are acting in a defensive way, I immediately start to wonder if I've been offensive. And I think if we take that tact as human beings, when someone puts their hand up and they're being defensive, have we done something to hurt them? And then how do we then find out? One of the things that I say to someone if we've been involved in a conflict is, are we okay? Are we okay to move forward? And sometimes they will say yes, and sometimes it's no, I still want to talk about it, or we're going to be okay. Right now, let's just kind of, take our time out, but we will be okay. So it's a rule of thumb for me. If someone behaves in a defensive manner, I'm going to wonder, have I caused offense? And then check it out. And the important thing is to check it out. And I do this every once in a while because I know Christians listen to a lot of talk radio. But there is a passage in scripture that actually undergirds this whole statement. And where they said to Jesus, the disciples said, should I forgive my brother 7 times? And he said, no, you're to forgive him 70 times 7. That's 490 times. It's a lot of forgiving. But then he says, if you are going to present a gift at the altar and you recognize that someone is upset with you, it's your responsibility to then go to that person and say, what have I done to cause harm? So that you are free to offer your gift to not having any conflictual situations in your heart. The other is, he says, if someone is upset with you, you need to go to them by yourself so that not everyone is brought into this conflict and try to resolve it. If they say, I do not want to resolve this with you, then you take another person with you and say, look, we need to try and figure this out because we need to move on together. If they then say, no, absolutely not, then take them to your community and say, look, this is a problem. We've tried to fix it. We need some wiser people than us to help navigate this. And if they then say no, then you can move forward and feel that you've done everything in your power to try to resolve the situation.
How do you know?
Onus is on us.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
How do you know where this can't be repaired?
I think when it gets to the point when another person says, I will have nothing to do with you. And then, because one person can't repair a problem. It takes 2 to tango.
Yeah.
We're bringing all kinds of cliches in.
Yeah, but they fit though. I've been finding, you know what, as I get older, all those things that, your parents, your mom said, whatever, they're true.
They are very true.
I don't want to admit it, but I can't ignore how some of them, like the go with the flow.
Right.
Go with the flow. You hear that? You don't understand. But this is my belief.
Right.
We're in a river of life flowing. And
yes.
You're in the current and it's going to take you. Now you're going to swim against the current. No, I'm not going that way. I'm not going that way. But the universe wants you to go that way. It's the right way. And if you don't go that way, eventually you will go that way. So you might as well go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Yeah.
And sometimes the path of least resistance is the best. Absolutely.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it comes down to intuition, where you think that it can't be that easy. Logic, going to think this over. Meanwhile, the first thing you thought of is the right answer coming from the intuition you got. I digress.
No, that's okay.
So with the repair, if the other person is just not having it and you're just not making any progress, that's where you end it.
You have to, unless you're going to be a pain and they're going to accuse you of harassment. Because at some point you do have to stop. So let me go back to, I know we talked about forgiveness the first week or so, but the point of forgiveness as well has little to do with the other person and more with the individual, with you yourself. And again, if the person will not participate, it's okay for you to release them, let them go, but you can also still forgive them because it's your forgiveness that matters, not whether they receive your forgiveness or not.
Sure. And that's a whole other podcast, the benefits of forgiveness. You don't condone what somebody has done. You're doing it for you. They've already moved on. They don't care what they did to you. It's for
absolutely
you. Yeah.
And sometimes they have no idea what they've done.
Or the severity. You're right.
Exactly.
You're right. It's amazing how some people are unaware. I mean, I had dealt with we talk about navigating conflict, something in the last month or so where somebody doesn't see how they deal with things. It's almost as if there's no resolution. You can't speak with them because the same thing comes up. Oh, it's my fault. No, I'm not saying that. But that's the common thing that I would get from the other person. It got to the point where there's no way to discuss anything. And then I'm almost walking on eggshells because I don't want to bring anything up because guess what I'm going to get? Oh, it's my fault. So there's I think that's one of those situations where you're not moving forward in the resolution.
So let me ask you a bold question.
Sure.
What would be so wrong in saying, you know what, in this situation, yes, when you speak to me in a passive aggressive manner, and I know that something's going on and you don't speak directly to me, it then triggers me. I get angry and we keep escalating. So what would be so wrong in doing that? Because that's when we either aim for a breakthrough or break up. And
that's you answered, you took my words.
Okay.
And that's what it was, where I was afraid this is going to lead to a breakup. This is just not, I see it. Intuition. I feel it. And there were other signs there too. Guess where it led? Just what you said.
A breakup.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was just, there's no, and I had always said, this isn't really a relationship. It's not a deeper relationship because you can't navigate through these things. It's almost we just put them under the rug, But yeah, exactly right. So I guess it's another way to tell when you can't do the repair.
Right. But it also goes back to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago as well. We've all been trained to communicate a certain way. And the phrase, who you're looking for is also looking for you. And so if
another cliche.
Yeah, I know. It works though.
It works. Yeah.
But if someone is used to being passive aggressive and it's worked for them, if it didn't work, they would stop doing that. And so it's really important to know that as we end or enter a new relationship, the same circumstances will occur unless we develop some skill to manage them more effectively. And so the last you want is for people to go from relationship to relationship, doing the same patterns, repeating the same things, and they have no idea of how they're going to navigate their way out of it.
Absolutely. There's another podcast right there. That's a whole why the same thing repeats itself in life, whether it's situations, people showing up. How many times do you hear from a lot of women say, there's no good men out there. This is the same one. Like they're all the same. No, There's a really good chance that maybe you attracted that. You're putting it out there.
Yeah, we do. Both males and females.
Sure.
We're hardwired to attract a certain kind of person to us. And you're right, women say, but the nice guy was so boring. And they end up with the dysfunctional one because they've come from dysfunction. They're used to dysfunction. It keeps them in equilibrium. And it's the same thing for a man where he will not take the sensible woman who can help budget. He'll take the one who will shop until they are broke, but he'll stay with her because he's used to that.
Yeah.
It's his comfortable place. And so when couples get into conflict, I do suggest that they work it out together with a therapist, a neutral third party, because one cannot change without the other.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they try,
yeah,
sorry,
like you said before, it takes two.
yes, absolutely.
To your point, I'll be transparent here, always am. There was a period where every woman I would meet had substantial anxiety.
Mm.
And I tried to figure it out. What's going on here? I don't want to be the therapist. I'm there. I'm very empathetic. I'm there to help.
Right.
I don't want to be the fixer at all. But why is this always showing up? Like, everybody has anxiety, but elevated levels.
Right.
And it could have been the dream person. Everything is perfect there, except, yeah, and you can navigate through anxiety, but it branched out into other areas, and it just was challenging. And
Right.
then I thought about it, Audrey, and I'm quite certain it's because my mom had anxiety.
Absolutely.
And I never realized it. We never talked about it. I only realized it after she passed away. And this is like 5 years ago that, yeah, she had a lot of anxiety. She was very overprotective of me and my sister. So I must have been attracting that, not wanting it. It just, we say we send signals out there in terms of energy, and that's what comes back. Well, that's what came back.
Absolutely, Steve. And we are so good at picking the right person for us to keep us, because we're all humans who want to stay in equilibrium, want to be calm and stable. And although you're like, that's not what I want, it's what you're used to, and it's
Right.
what you're comfortable with. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we're all creatures of habit. We don't want
Absolutely.
change. And I have a friend who was in a relationship, and his wife, and they broke up, but she would always try to push his button. She would always want to, create a conflict. And he was chill, very low key, and it would always be. And then he figured it out that, and I know I know them both, that her father was abusive, and there was a lot of strife and conflict in their family life. So to your point, she was just comfortable with it. So she wanted to go back to it. And that's why she would, no matter what it is, any situation, she would, create something so there would be chaos. And he's like, no, that's it. Not a problem. Like, we'll move past it. So yes, to your point, you don't realize it until you realize it.
You do. So let me go to a couple solutions, because people might be thinking, oh my gosh, tell us what to do.
Sure.
In the moment, it's important to do some self-soothing work, to do the deep breathing. And again, it goes back to, what did parents say? Just take a deep breath and calm down.
Sure.
But that's so important. Why the breathing? Because we need oxygen to go to the brain. When we stop breathing, we stop thinking effectively. And it's important just to take a few deep gulps and think, okay, we need to just calm down for a minute and think about how we're going to do things differently. Taking a time out isn't just for the kids. Sometimes it's important to say, look, go to your room. I'm going to go to the garage and let's kind of regroup in a few minutes and try to figure this out. It's important to also start with ground rules. I wrote a little document because I had a lot of young couples with conflicts, and I called it How to Fight, but I'm going to change it to How to Disagree Without Being Disagreeable. Because we'll all have to disagree. And one of the first points is for us all to have a set of rules of how we're going to engage in these conflicts and how to get to resolution. And that's really important. So we're not going to call each other names. We're not going to be physical with one another. We're going to take a time out when it gets too heated. And if one puts the hand up and say, I need a time out, that will be respected. So it's going to a few things in the moment when you're heated. And I know it's hard. And what I do say to people is practice these ongoingly, so that when you are heated, you will then have the skills. Because when your emotions take over, the skills are gonna go out the door because you're not gonna think about it. You just want to fight at that point.
And backing up, not that I have to, because you're amazing, but in my journey, what I learned is the breathing thing. It's not even just taking a moment. It's scientifically proven, like a reset button, when you just take 3 deep breaths, let them in, let them out. And when there is conflict and you're working on the repair, many times couples will say, not now. Or one half of the couple will say, not right now. Oh, let's deal with this later. Yeah. I feel you need to set an appointment. You can't just say, man, later we'll deal with that. And now a day goes by, now 2. And then it went under the rug, and now a week and a month. And the same thing came up again. And now it's even more.
Right. And because people forget.
Yeah. Or they want to forget.
They want to forget.
Yeah.
And to your point, when someone says, I need a break, allow the break.
Yes. There's
so many people who are like, no, we have to talk about it right now. Yes. No. Allow the break.
But don't forget, you need to reconvene.
Right.
Such great information. We deal with this all of us on a daily basis. Audrey, what's the best way for somebody to find you if they need some therapy, help, couples, individuals work this stuff out?
So I'm in Canada. So unless someone's going to do it via Zoom, that won't be available to them. But you can find my website at genesisclinicalservices.ca. That's where you'll find my book, Emotional Healing Through Relationships. And we have a few more things that you can download. And there's a course that I'm working on, actually, how to rewire the brain for love. It's written mostly for women, how to rewire your brain so that you attract the right person. So that is in the works right now, and stay tuned.
That's a great one. It's for women. I want that book.
Men can do it too, but mostly women. And I hate to sound sexist. We'll go for the self-help stuff, but it's true. We all kind of attract who we want.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Wonderful talking with you. Final question. You mentioned a Jamaican phrase before. Any personal connection to Jamaica?
I'm Jamaican.
Oh, Wagwan.
What, man?
I got to get back there.
Are you connected to Jamaica?
I'm not. I've been there many times. I've broadcast live from the island. I got to be like 10 times. I'm blessed, to be able to do that.
Right.
I still am in touch with some of the people that I've met down there, and just great people. And that's why I knew there's a reason why you're so wonderful. Thank you. Great having you on here, and looking forward when we get together again.
Thank you for having me. Take good care.
You too. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. The hard part was determining that I was going to do it, but I definitely didn't do it alone.
At age 30, with the help of her mentor, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
I have a mentor, Maria. She convinced me to continue my education and to finish what I started to get my diploma. Just never judges. She's a true role model. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.